Hey everyone, and welcome back to a new video. So in this video, I'll be testing out the 9-drive throttle controller, which I got installed into my Myvi about a month ago. And after that, I'll be giving my honest review about my experience using the throttle controller after about a month. So the way I'll be carrying out this video is by dividing it into 3 segments. So the first segment will be a brief introduction about the features of the throttle controller. Secondly, I'll be carrying out the test, which I will explain later on. And lastly, I'll be giving a conclusion where it will have my honest review about using the throttle controller. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so let's have a look at the basic features of the 9-drive throttle controller. As you can see, there are 3 different buttons on the throttle controller. So the one on the left is for you to change the different modes of the throttle controller. The one in the middle is to decrease the level of the different modes, and the one on the right is to increase the level of the different modes. So let's have a look at the different modes which are available in this 9-drive throttle controller. And after that, I'll be explaining about the functions of the different modes. So the one you can see on the screen right now, it stands for normal mode, and then we have P1, which stands for comfort mode, and then we have P2, which stands for sport mode, and then we have P3, which stands for race mode, and lastly we have EC, which stands for eco mode. Alright, so first off is normal mode. It is a mode where the throttle controller does not affect the throttle response at all. So in other words, it is a mode where it is as if you did not install the throttle controller at all, so nothing is changed with the normal mode. Next up we have P1 or comfort mode. So the function of comfort mode is to give some ease in acceleration but not too much, but at the same time it provides for a relatively comfortable experience when driving, where you do not have to press so much to get your car moving. And the button on the right, it increases the level of the mode, so it goes all the way from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it goes all the way from level 1 to level 9. So there are different levels which you can choose to adjust according to your preference. So when you're using the throttle controller, you can choose any of the different modes at different levels to see which one suits you the best. Okay, so next up we have sport mode. So sport mode, comparing it to comfort mode, it provides a little bit more throttle response, but just like comfort mode, it has 9 different levels which you can select to give you different levels of throttle response for sport mode. It goes all the way from level 1 to level 9 as well. So next up we have the most powerful setting on the throttle controller, which is race mode or P3. And just like the other modes, it goes from level 1 to level 9. And level 9 is the most powerful setting for race mode. And with this setting, it gives the most throttle response you could ask for with the throttle controller. So another thing which I should mention about the race mode is that in the instructions manual that came with the throttle controller, they actually gave a warning to be careful when using race mode, because it really does affect the throttle response of your car. So even if you tap lightly on your accelerator pedal, your car will lurch forward quickly. Like, it's a very snappy response. But then again, that is of course the function of race mode, to give the best and quickest response for your driving. And lastly, we have eco mode, or in other words, the fuel saving mode. And of course, it goes from level 1 all the way to level 9 as well. And I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. So with eco mode, it basically controls your throttle response. So even if you were to press heavily on the throttle pedal, the throttle will not respond too quickly. So in other words, it helps conserve fuel. So those are the different modes of the throttle controller. Okay, so now let's move on to the second segment of this video, which is the testing phase, where I test out the different modes of the 9-drive throttle controller. And the way I'll be carrying out this test is by running 2 tests actually. So the first one is that I'll be driving on a straight road, and I'll test out the time taken for the car to reach 100 kilometers per hour from standstill. And the second test is that I'll be doing the same thing, but instead of a flat road, I'll be driving up a slight slope. And for the sake of this experiment, I'll be maintaining each mode at level 5, except for race mode where I will set it at level 9, because I want to see and test out the full capabilities of the 9-drive throttle controller. So let's get started. Okay, so now moving to the third and final segment of this video, which is the conclusion, where I give my honest review about my experience using the throttle controller after a month. So to start off, I actually only find myself using two modes of the throttle controller, which is the eco mode and race mode. So I use the eco mode perhaps 90% of the time, especially when going out to run errands, basically when driving short distances. But as a matter of fact, I think I actually use the eco mode for long distance driving as well. So there's a good reason for that actually. The eco mode of the throttle controller is actually very effective at keeping your revs at 2000 RPM, and because of that it helps you save fuel. When you pair that with the fuel saving properties of the Myvi G3, it gives a super nice combo of fuel efficiency. So it's a feature I really like of the throttle controller, and because of that I actually don't mind using the eco mode most of the time, and it basically helps save fuel a lot lah. That's pretty much what it does. But yeah, that's why I use the eco mode most of the time. On the other hand, I find myself using the maximum setting of the throttle controller, which is race mode, on the maximum setting of race mode as well when going up Uluyam or Genting, but that isn't really often. So the reason why is because the throttle controller greatly improves the response time of the throttle pedal. So when going up Genting, it is so much more easier now compared to before having the throttle controller installed, because previously my car struggled so much with going up Genting. I had to switch from gear D4 to 3, and yeah, it wasn't really that fun going up Genting. But now with the throttle controller, I can affirm that it is so much more better now, because the throttle controller, it improves the response of the throttle pedal, and because of that it helps make going up hills or steep hills much more easier compared to before. So yeah, that's what I got to say about the advantages of the throttle controller. And meanwhile, I don't actually use the other modes, which is comfort and sport, because why not just use race mode immediately? So yeah, that's why. But yeah, that's what I can say about the benefits of the throttle controller. However, I do have to mention that the throttle controller does not improve your 0 to 100 speed, or basically your acceleration from 0 to 100, and it does not improve your top speed. So those are the two things you have to keep in mind if you are considering on buying the throttle controller. But for those of you who are interested in looking for a relatively affordable way to improve the performance of your car, then I highly recommend getting the throttle controller. It is a pretty nice way to improve the performance of your car, even in terms of response time only, because it's pretty simple to install and use. All you have to do is just plug it in the appropriate plug. You don't have to cut any wires or cut any exhaust pipes or whatsoever, and it's basically a plug and play system. So like I said, for those of you who are interested in getting a slight improvement in performance, then go ahead and purchase the 9Drive throttle controller. I'll leave a link in the description below. Currently the price, last time I checked, it was 193 ringgit on Shopee, so I'm guessing the price fluctuates every now and then. But comparing to other brands in the market, such as Works throttle controller, the price is so much less. So yeah, I suggest getting 9Drive throttle controller instead of those other brands, because the function is just the same. It basically manipulates the throttle response. So yeah, I guess that's all I can say about the throttle controller, and because of that, I guess that's all for this review video. I hope you found this review and test video informative and maybe assist in making a decision when purchasing a throttle controller in the future. And yeah, I guess that's all for this video. Leave the like if you like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next time.